Inoculation process?
Yeah, and like a little bit about like what, how that compares to vaccination.
Okay.
So like I heard back in the 18th century that the smallpox was sort of the big pandemic that had people, probably even more nervous than now about COVID-19.
Most certainly, it was the big pandemic. 300 plus years, the world was subjected to this malady of smallpox, and if somebody would mention smallpox, everybody would run fear because it was so contagious and deadly, very deadly. And if you survived, many people who did survive ended up with lifelong maladies, infirmities, blindness, and always pock marks left over. So during the war, George Washington issued orders to the troops to be inoculated. Inoculation started much earlier in the 1700s, and it started in Boston with Zebediah Boylston testing out the process, the idea, which actually came from other countries. It's believed that he heard about it from Cotton Mather, who had heard about it from one of his slaves. So how does it work? What is inoculation? How is it different? Inoculation is you take material from someone suffering smallpox. You select an appropriate pox, open it, gather the clear fluid. You don't want any cloudiness or whatever. You want clear fluid, and gather. You put it on some sort of a substrate, and in this instance, these are supposed to be ivory. And you can see, there's a dried material that's here. That would be pox material that I'd collected, and then I would have this with me when I wanted to inoculate someone. I would then approach them, open a small wound somewhere on their body, and take one of these items and wipe it through to transfer that material into them. So really, I'm giving them smallpox. This is not like vaccination, which is an entirely different process. This is actually giving them smallpox. But because it's being introduced in this controlled manner, the result was very minor. A mild fever, maybe 3-4 days of not feeling well, and then the symptoms would subside. And from that point on, the person would be protected from ever having smallpox. Vaccination, which comes around near the 1790s, late 1790s, with Edward Jenner, is an entirely different process where he's giving someone a virus that is similar to smallpox. It's actually cowpox. And he's injecting them with that material and causing an immune response through that process. That's vaccination versus inoculation. Inoculation was what, during the time of the Revolution and so on, that's what we were doing. And it was highly successful.